Do you have any family stories that you've heard repeated over and over? They sometimes become bigger than life as they get repeated. Growing and growing, they might be stories of walking uphill both ways in the snow or the incredible catch that got away. For people in today's Bible story, they would have had one of those amazing stories passed down from previous generations that had been repeated over and over in their minds. Do you remember when Moses led the people out of Egypt? After the plagues had come and Pharaoh finally said, "Let them go," Moses and the people started walking away from Egypt, but toward the Red Sea. I'm not exactly sure if Moses already had a plan or not, but remember how Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army to chase after the Israelites in hopes of recapturing them and bringing them back to be slaves again? When Moses got to the Red Sea at just the moment when it might have seemed that the people had nowhere else to go, God parted the waters, and the people of God walked across on dry land. And then they found themselves in the wilderness, wandering around for 40 years, probably recounting that story of God's amazing miracle over and over again. Well, the time had come that the people of God were going to go to the Promised Land. These were the children and grandchildren of those who had crossed through the Red Sea. Now, they were going to cross through a dried-up path in the Jordan River to get there. It would have come with a bit of fear, knowing the story and now doing something similar. As the people crossed the Jordan River, 12 men gathered 12 large stones from the riverbed. Those 12 stones were piled up on the other side. The people constructed an altar as a way to worship God and remember the stories of God's faithfulness. Whenever they would see those stones piled up there, they would remember. I asked what stories are shared over and over again in your family, but particularly, what faith stories are shared in the remembering that your family does? Do you know the stories of when God provided, God spoke, or God was faithful in your family's experience? It's important to talk about the stories of God's faithfulness. They strengthen our own faith and give us courage to face trials ahead, knowing God has been with us as we faced trials before. Your assignment this week is to ask your family, your parents, grandparents, aunts, or uncles, to share their stories of faith with you. Hear about the times when they knew that God was with them, when God provided for them, and when God was faithful. Hear the stories and remember God's goodness. One day, you can pass them down to your children too.